All right, welcome. Today we are diving into something massive, the Morphean Cosmology framework. It's an incredibly bold attempt to create a single, unified system for, well, everything. And our goal here is to give you a kind of user's guide, a way to approach it and understand it on its own terms.
So let's just start with the question at the very heart of this thing. What if the fundamental rules that govern physics and the stars are the exact same rules that shape biology, our own consciousness, and even our ethics? It's a huge question, and it's the jumping-off point for this entire body of work.
Now, the creator is absolutely clear on this point. This isn't meant to be seen as speculation or philosophy or some kind of sci-fi fantasy. It's presented as a functional map of reality. A map that's built not on new facts, but on a totally new way of interpreting the facts we already have. And that distinction is the key to the whole thing. Understanding the difference between a fact and an interpretation is how you unlock the system. It's also where most misunderstandings happen, so let's get really clear on it. Okay, this is so important. This framework doesn't challenge any established measurements. The speed of light, the gravitational constant, the laws of thermodynamics, all that hard data is the foundation. It takes all the known, accepted facts from science as its starting point. It doesn't invent new evidence, it just connects the dots in a different way. So here you can see the difference in method. Mainstream science is fantastic at observing the world and building models that predict what will happen. It's incredibly powerful. The Morphean approach is different. It tries to build a model of the underlying cause, to explain how it all happens, right from the first principles, with a really ambitious goal, to create a system that has zero internal paradoxes. And this quote just nails the central argument. The idea is simple. If your map of reality leads to paradoxes, like quantum mechanics and relativity not quite fitting together, then maybe the map is wrong or at least incomplete. The claim here is that a system that can explain all the same data without any paradoxes might just be a more accurate map of how reality actually works. Now, to read this new map, you basically have to learn its language. And this is a huge step. The framework redefines some of our most basic concepts. It's almost like learning a new dialect, where you're using the same words, but they have a very different, very specific meaning. And if you don't get that, you'll just be talking past each other. For example, space. We tend to think of it as just nothing, an empty box. But in this framework, it's an active, structured medium. Think of it less like a vacuum and more like a crystal or even a fluid that can vibrate and carry waves. It's a participant, not just a container. Time gets a total makeover too. It's not a fourth dimension that we're traveling along like a river. Instead, it's the measurable pulse of change happening within that medium of space. It's the universe's own internal clock tick, the rhythm of transformation. And this one really ties it all together. With this new view of space, gravity is no longer a mysterious pulling force. Instead, objects are just moving toward points of balance, of harmonic equilibrium within that structured field. Kind of like how iron filings naturally line up in a magnetic field. They aren't being pulled, they're just finding their place. Okay, so with this whole new language, how are you supposed to actually approach this thing? Well, the author provides a very clear set of rules of engagement, a guide for how to evaluate it fairly, on its own terms. And these steps are absolutely crucial. The first goal isn't to prove or disprove anything, it's just to understand the internal logic of the whole system. Does the definition of space connect logically to the definition of gravity? Does the physics connect to the biology? You have to see the entire architecture before you can judge any single part of it.
And this really gets to the core of it. The framework is presented as a single, coherent system. According to the author, trying to pull out one piece and analyze it in isolation using a different set of rules is where almost all the misinterpretation comes from. It's a package deal.
So, why? What's the point of all this? This isn't just a mental exercise. The framework is designed from the ground up to be a functional tool, with some incredibly ambitious real-world applications in mind. And the goals here, they're staggering. We're talking about a system that claims to unify over 30 different fields of science, to ground ethics in measurable physics, and to provide a practical blueprint for a sustainable, advanced civilization. And right at the center of all that is a new way to address the climate emergency.
This sense of urgency is exactly why the core principles of the framework are made available for free. The author's position is really clear. If this knowledge can actually help with the massive problems we're facing, then it has to be accessible. It can't be stuck behind a paywall.
This quote is really the philosophical bedrock of the whole project. It suggests that whenever we see a contradiction in our scientific models, it's not reality that's broken. It's a sign that our map of reality, our understanding, is what needs to be fixed.
So the creator of all this is Christos Sotirelis, who also goes by Morpheas. And it's really important to note that the work is protected by a specific public license. This means anyone can study it and share it freely, but you can't alter it or sell it. The goal is to keep the original architecture intact for serious study.
So at the end of the day, this framework doesn't ask you to believe in it. It asks you to examine its logic. And as you think about that, it's worth remembering the urgent reason all this was developed, especially the focus on the climate crisis, which we've covered in previous explainers. So the final question is, in our search for solutions, how much weight should we give to a system whose biggest claim is that it's completely 100% internally consistent?